One would assume rectifying male pattern baldness would reduce suicide risk, but apparently that's not the case with this one popular treatment. Hair loss treatment used by millions linked to suicide risk. Evidence is no longer anecdotal. Well, let's take a look. New research out of Israel, of course, suggests that patients using a popular drug for male pattern baldness face a significantly higher risk of mood disorders and suicidal thoughts compared to those who don't. The evidence is no longer anecdotal. Dr. Meir Bressis, that's about the most Jewish name I could think of, a professor at the Hadassah Hebrew University Medical Center and a lead author of the study, said in a statement, We now see consistent patterns across diverse populations, and the consequences may have been tragic. Well, what are we talking about here? Okay, the drug in question, finasteride. Wow, okay, better known as Propecia. That's kind of crazy because that's like super popular. They weren't over-exaggerating this at all, which was approved by the FDA in the 90s. Yeah, animal studies have linked finasteride to long-term brain inflammation and changes in the hippocampus, the brain center for learning, memory, and emotions. Okay, so while the FDA added depression as a potential side effect in 2011, the suicidal ideation and behavior in 2022, Bressis found apparent warnings dating back to 2002. Interesting. Okay, so in a trial linked to one user's suicide, Bressis uncovered internal FDA documents purportedly showing experts recommended adding suicidal thoughts and behavior to the drug's label back in 2010. The advice was rejected by the agencies without disclosing the internal discussion and the rationale for the final decision, Bressis wrote last month in the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry. In another internal FDA document from 2010, Bressis said he found large sections blacked out as confidential. Interesting, including estimates of how many people might be affected by the purported side effects. In 2011, the agency had logged 18 suicides tied to finasteride, but that's not an insignificant number, okay? But Bressis argues that the actual toll could be thousands worldwide. Oh yeah, just leave it up to somebody from Israel to over-exaggerate some death counts. Based on global use of the drug. It wasn't just underreporting, it was a systemic failure of a pharmacovigilance. That's a word. Okay, Bressis partly blames Merrick. Okay, yeah, finasteride's original maker, for allegedly skipping basic safety research using database analyses, and regulators for allegedly failing to demand it or conduct it themselves. Given his findings, Bressis is calling for the suspension of the marketing of finasteride for cosmetic use until the safety profile is fully reassessed. Well, I kind of agree with that. He's also pushing for the FDA to mandate a strictly enforced post-approval studies for drugs like finasteride and to ensure drug histories are systemically recorded in suicide investigations. If Bressis' findings have you eyeing a bottle of finasteride with suspicion, well, apparently don't, okay? Because to take that drug, you could be eyeing another bottle of something else. Don't panic, your dream of regrowing a full head of hair isn't over yet. There's still topical minoxidil, okay, the active ingredient in Rogaine, which is FDA approved to treat the androgenic alopecia, aka male or female pattern baldness, of course. It's available over the counter in the United States, but there's a catch. Topical minoxidil has poor water solubility and skin absorption, meaning not all of it actually makes it into your hair follicles. Fortunately, a new study may have found the solution, stevioside. Interesting, a natural sweetener that comes from a stevia plant. What are we doing here? Researchers found that mixing stevioside with minoxidil helps to soak it into the skin better. When tested on mice with androgenic alopecia, the combo jump-started hair follicles into growth, leading to new hair. Using stevioside to enhance minoxidil delivery represents a promising step towards more effective and natural treatments for hair loss, potentially benefiting millions worldwide. Androgenic alopecia is common, affecting an estimated 80 million people in the United States alone. By 50, more than half of men and a quarter of women will experience some degree of hair thinning or loss. And yeah, you would have to think, right, just the number of people that have reached for finasteride, okay, recently and have been subject to such dark thoughts without knowing the actual cause of said ideation. So I'm glad that it is being discovered. It's just unfortunate that it's so late. So yes, it's a good thing that, yeah, now we're finding more effective ways to apply Rogaine, because that's the thing. It has always been marketed as being effective. It's just been, it's been very sketchy in its application, and this is apparently one way that it is being fixed. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.